Mike, you and I were recording some stuff last night for Simmons, and we got off on a sidebar issue that we didn't record.
Right.
So let's record it now. but you and I have some opinions and some theories on a very controversial topic right now, and that would be one Bill Cosby. So just start us off, brother. What's on your mind? What do you think is going on with Cosby, and why now?
Well, how about that America's Dad, Dr. Huxtable there, huh? I don't know.
Amazing.
Up on rape allegations. I don't know. Has anybody wondered what that says about America? You know, if any of that is true, that America's Dad is that sort of a human being. He did frequent the Playboy Mansion back in the 80s, by the way. Little is known about that, but he was a frequent visitor there. So let me just start off by saying that I in no way am downplaying or belittling in any way these accusations against Cosby. He's no friend of mine, and if he is guilty of any of this, he deserves everything that's coming to him. However, having said all of that, I have to say, guys, that I'm a little bit cynical on the timing of all of this, and I am taking a step back, and I'm going, wait a minute, should we take a more sober look at these accusations because there is a long-standing history of hoaxes, false accusations against people to have them removed out of the current zeitgeist, if you will. If they have any influence at all in a direction where the elitists don't want it to go, the elitists, they have these plans, and if you might be one to stand in the way of these plans, guess what? You better hope you grow an eyeball out the back of your head. Hello, Charles Barkley. But
yeah,
there is a history of hoaxes, accusations, rape accusations. We go 25 years ago. There was a woman named Tawana Brawley who, she accused 6 men of gang raping her when she was 15, and Al Sharpton stepped on the scene, and there was this big major uproar across the country about this black woman who set off a racial firestorm, alleging she was raped by a group of white men.
Yep.
And I'm looking at a picture of a Afro-clad Al Sharpton standing behind her, giving her full support. And then it went before a grand jury. By now, everyone should be very familiar with those two words.
Yeah.
And the grand jury determined that it was all one giant hoax. Yeah. And she's been forced to pay financial restitution to people for this hoax. So, these rape allegations go way back. We can go back as far as 2009 even. Think about Dominic Strauss-Kahn.
Yep.
Dominic Strauss-Kahn was head of the IMF when Obama was elected. In 2009, he was accused of raping a maid in a hotel.
Yep.
You'll all remember that. And he was shamed into quitting as head of the IMF. And who was put in place when he left was Christine Lagarde. Now, Christine Lagarde worked for a Chicago law firm that donated thousands of dollars that we know of. I was able to personally track down these donations. I did a whole bunch of articles on this, doing the timeline investigation and all of that, and I tracked down thousands of dollars in donation from this law firm that Christine Lagarde worked at, and she ended up being the head of the IMF, and she is an Obama plant, as far as I'm concerned. And when she finally took the role as head of the International Monetary Fund, the allegations against Scon evaporated like flatulence when you open up the window. Finally, it just all disappeared, and
so it evaporated slowly.
Barack Obama's gal is head of the International Monetary Fund, and guess what? She's up on corruption charges right now.
Yeah.
And the Washington Post. Okay, now we fast forward to today. The Washington Post, they published a story by a woman who alleges that she was raped by Bill Cosby. This all came about. The timing is very suspicious here because it all came about at the same time as Ferguson started blowing up, right? Mm-hmm. And the Washington Post is a liberal rag in bed with the Obama regime They're known for publishing badly investigated material. You know, they had to retract the story and apologize for publishing a story about parents giving chemicals and drugs to their kids. You know, the Washington Post, they're known for this. And they published this story, and now it's got worldwide attention. What's up with the timing? I mean, I really have to. Oh, by the way, breaking in the news today, the Rolling Stone magazine is now apologizing and is likely looking at multiplied millions of dollars in restitution for publishing an article which blamed a fraternity at a university in Virginia. This is all breaking today, by the way, of raping a woman. That is all a hoax. That is all public. That is all coming out today, and the hoaxes just keep piling up on themselves. Cosby was taken to court in 2005 for a rape charge, and that was all settled out of court. Now we have 18 more women. Now, the numbers are adding up here, so I'm not saying that it's all a big hoax. I'm asking the same question as the women are asking. Why are you believing us now? Why have you waited until now to take our story seriously? Listen, Brandon, I know this is where you and I started talking about this last night. The timing is very suspicious because Bill Cosby has been an outspoken voice against the hooliganism, against the gangsterism, against the rap culture that takes these hormone raging teenagers, and this rap music just pushes these teenagers off a cliff because it's so angry. Eminem, his music is so violent and angry, he doesn't even let his own children listen to it, and yet these parents in these poor neighborhoods are letting their teenagers listen to this angry, violent music, which is stirring up these. All teenagers go through this time. I have a teenage son. They all go through this time of raging hormones in their body, and we as parents need to see them through that. And we need to be good role models in their lives and just see them up into an age where their body starts to calm down and find a resting place finally when they get into their early and mid-20s. Finally, the haze starts to clear a little bit. And that's why they don't let 15-year-olds drive cars, because the hormones are raging. And we just need to be there as parents and be a calming voice, a calming influence in their lives. But these parents in some of these communities are allowing these children to listen to this music, which is pushing these kids off the proverbial cliff emotionally and mentally, and that's why they're full of rage when a police officer says, "Hey, do you mind not walking down the middle of the street?" This big teenage young man, the size of a refrigerator, attacks this police officer and grabs hold of him, now we know what the result of that was, and we know that the stepfather, when the grand jury's decision came out, we see that somebody should investigate the stepfather for child abuse. Honestly, because when we look at his attitude following the grand jury, he 7 times he screamed at the crowd, "Let's burn this blankety blank down. Let's burn it down." And we have Al Sharpton saying the same thing from his pulpit.
And then we see the police chief of Ferguson say, "We will consider pressing charges against him." So it's just the hypocrisy of this is unbelievable. Cosby had taken has been known for taking stands, particularly chastising the males in the black community. I remember a time in I think it was late 90s, early 2000s, where he gave a speech, and if I remember correctly, it was at an NAACP event, and he just got blasted because he got up on stage and he told the truth. That black men needed to step up, and they needed to take responsibility for their families, and they needed to take responsibility for these children that were being born out of wedlock, and all of these different things. He just told the truth, and he was blasted for it. And then you alluded to Charles Barkley, who has been very outspoken about the Ferguson situation. And Mike, listen, like you said, if this is all true, if Cosby is this monster serial rapist that these women are saying that he is, then he needs to burn for that. There is no doubt about it. There is no punishment on earth that could be enough if he has done these things. But we have to examine the very real possibility that this is all a setup, like we have seen before, to silence what the powers that be hate, and that is conservative, influential black leaders. The establishment hates that particular persona, and we have to examine, is what's going on here, especially with the timing of Ferguson,
in this environment,
because Cosby is somebody that could have stepped in and spoken to this, like Charles Barkley is doing,
like the man from nowhere should have, and like Eric Holder, his attorney general, should have.
No, they're busy inciting violence.
That's right. That's right. Well, the man who causes astounding devastation wherever he goes,
and who changes laws.
Yeah, and the one that throws truth to the ground. Yeah,
right.
Mike, what do you think about all that?
Well, I want to ask the same question. I'm curious about the same things that some of these girls are curious about. Why now? Why do you care about us now? Why didn't you care about us years ago when we were screaming at the top of our lungs that this man is a monster and an animal, and used to take us to the Playboy Mansion and have his way with us, using drugs? You know, one of Cosby's comedy routines, he actually used to joke about the Spanish fly, which is a rape drug.
Yeah.
So all signs point to guilt on his part. But I want to ask the same questions that the girls are asking about the Obama administration and Eric Holder. Why now? Why do you care about us now? Well, I think the answer is quite simply that they want to keep the black communities on the plantation.
Yes.
They want to keep them as welfare voters.
Brother, that is exactly what Larry Pinckney says. I was on the phone with Larry Pinckney today, and that is exactly what he says. And for those that don't know, Larry Pinckney, former original Black Panther Party member and very outspoken against this current administration.
Right, and it's very true. You know, if you take a solid look back at, I guess nobody saw Charles Barkley coming. I mean, I wouldn't want to mess with him, but nobody saw him coming. I mean, it was a shock to everyone when he started speaking truth to power. He started saying, "Look, the answer is if the cops go away from Ferguson, it is a nightmare situation." His words were, "It turns into the Wild Wild West."
Right,
and he said the cops play a valuable role there. And the answer really is quite simple here, folks. And both Obama and Eric Holder, if they're really interested in making things right and reversing, I mean, listen, folks, they're talking progress, they're talking change. They really need to start talking about regress and going back to the basics and going back to the family and knocking off all this baby mama nonsense, baby daddy nonsense. Who's your baby's daddy? That's a big joke in the black communities, and I hear it all the time. And all the black comedians are out there talking about who's your baby's daddy. Listen, this is no joke, folks.
Yeah.
The answer here is to return to the family, return to the nuclear family. That women start honoring their husbands from the first time they say "I do" to the time they draw their last breath. From men honoring and loving and sacrificially honoring their wives and their children by staying with it no matter what happens, by saying, it may sound like a pat answer, but saying no to drugs and saying no to the gangsters, saying no to the hooligan music, which is driving your kids crazy, it is pushing them off the proverbial cliff, is making them killers and making them kill each other and kill themselves. Hey, black on black crime is the number one crime in the black community.
Yep.
And this is one of the points that Charles Barkley pointed out, that this is really if we're going to bring the Bible into it, let's bring the Bible into it. Get back to the basics. Bring the Lord back in. A lot of these communities, they claim to be godly communities. Well, why is it that these men and women are leaving their families to go out and live the gangster lifestyle? Why is that happening?
Yeah.
Why aren't you taking a look back, as Charles Barkley has been saying, and as Bill Cosby has said in the past, and would have been a powerful voice in this situation also? Take a look at yourselves. Ask yourselves, why are our children acting this way? Why are our teenagers beating up cops simply for asking them to stop walking down the street? Why are they acting this way? It is time to start asking the difficult questions about yourselves and stop pointing the finger at everybody else, because, listen, you guys got a huge problem, and you guys fought, and I say you guys, the African-American communities in the United States, fought so hard to become part of the American experience. Why don't you want to take part in that? Why are you rejecting it now? It's time to embrace the American experience. And listen, folks, the facts of life are conservative. Conservatism works every time it is tried. It is time to embrace the conservative mantra of family, faith, and community structure, and get back on board with that. It really is
Mike,
time, and that's my message to.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I'm sorry to cut you short, man, but we're coming up here on a hard break. But, it's just sad because what you said, this is not a joke. But it is a joke to the powers that be. Mike, we saw Planned Parenthood this week join up with the Ferguson protest.
Black Lives Matter.
Hashtag Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
This is an organization that was founded by one of the biggest racists and eugenicists that's ever walked this earth to destroy the black race.
Yeah.
So it is a joke to them.
It is. Mike, thanks so much for being with us. We're right up against a heartbreak. We got to keep rolling. But my goodness, we appreciate the fire you brought to the table today, my man.
It's my pleasure. God bless you guys. ppsimmonsalive.com, and I love you guys. We'll talk to you.